All members, if you please come to the floor. All members, please come to the floor. Mr. Clerk, if you'll get ready. The hour for convening having arrived. All members will please come to the floor and take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? House will come to order. Members, please take your seats. House will come to order. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber on this crossover day. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. All members have voted. So, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by our chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 16th House District, Representative Trey Kelly. Representative Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy Crossover Day, colleagues. It is my honor to get to introduce Pastor Justin Carter to you this morning from the Second Baptist Church in Cedartown. Now, I worship at my dad's church, Worldview Baptist, but Second Baptist and Pastor Carter's church is just across the street, and my aunt and uncle worship under Pastor Carter, and I can assure you that they benefit from the ministry that he provides them. Justin's married to his wife, Sarah. They have a daughter, Maggie, and a son, Jack, who's here with us, along with a member of his congregation, Sheila Barrett. Would y'all please stand up so we can recognize y'all, please? Justin got his undergraduate degree at the University of West Georgia, where I found out this morning he attended with our pro tem's legal counsel, Tyler Mashburn. He shared with me that they ran for the SGA together on the slate, and that was both of their first introduction to how dirty politics can be. He got his pastoral ministry degree from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary and was a bivocational pastor. He was a history teacher before coming full-time to Second Baptist in 2018. Justin's active in our community with Life Matters Outreach. Justin and his church run one of the largest recovery ministries in our community, in our region, and I know he's going to share some of the good work that they've done there. Outside of his ministry, Justin enjoys reading mostly history books, but he's also talented in playing the guitar and the piano. It's my honor to get to introduce Pastor Justin Carter to y'all today on this crossover. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and Representative Kelly, for the opportunity to be here today at the Capitol, and I'm honored to share a few words of encouragement before you start your busy day here at the state capitol. I was here many years ago as a page, as a young boy, and I remember getting my picture taken with the late Speaker Tom Murphy right up here. He used to let us hold the gavel for that picture, and I accidentally walked off with the gavel. But I didn't get too far, so hopefully I won't do that today. I'm joined here today by my son Jack and our ministry assistant at the church, Miss Sheila Barrett. Sheila retired from many years of working at the Georgia Department of Labor, and her father was the late sheriff of Polk County for many years. Her sister actually worked in the governor's office as well for several decades. After Sheila retired, she faced several battles in her personal life. What started as an addiction to alcohol spiraled into an addiction with drugs. And like others across our state, Sheila experienced overwhelming grief in 2010 at the passing of her 22-year-old son, Brent, due to an accidental drug overdose. That led Sheila down a very long and difficult path, one that involved addiction, arrests, jail time, broken relationships, and probation. When I first came to the church at Second Baptist, members had mentioned to me about Sheila being in jail. And I remember praying for her, not knowing who she was or what exactly she was struggling with. In what seemed like an impossible situation, God was not done with Miss Sheila Barrett. Things changed a little later on when my precious wife, Sarah, saw Sheila at the local grocery store. She had gotten out of jail, and my wife had been praying for her, and she went up to her and said, "Are you Sheila Barrett?" And she said, "Yes, I am." And my wife invited her back to church that day. Well, the following Sunday, Sheila showed up at Second Baptist Church to worship with us, and she was welcomed with open arms. She began attending our new Celebrate Recovery program that had just started that year, and she became instrumental in managing our social media pages. She followed her probation rules meticulously and began helping others in their fight for recovery. She became our ministry assistant for hospitality at the church, and she greets every guest we have on Sunday morning. She has made it her life's ambition to honor the memory of her son Brent and to share the love of Christ everywhere she goes. She's been on mission trips, just about every mission trip we've had as a church. She's been to Idaho, El Salvador, Louisiana, and she just got back from her third trip to the nation of Cuba. She has reconciled with her family, and she'll be off probation on September 15th of this year. With God, as Scripture says, all things are possible. I share her story to illustrate to you the power of community and connection, and most importantly, the power of a God of second chances. A God who leads us and guides us every day, a God who is with us as a very present help in trouble. And as you start off your day here at the Capitol, I want to encourage you to remember the people just like Sheila all over our state. They deserve the opportunity to freely pursue God's plan for their lives, to be provided with the resources needed to make their next step in life a more successful and a more prosperous one. And I want to thank you for your service to the people of this great state. Our prayers are with you, and our prayers for wisdom and discernment are with this whole house and this Capitol today as you make very important decisions that impact the millions of people all across the great state of Georgia. Would you stand with me in prayer? Our Heavenly Father, I ask for your blessings and divine guidance for the men and women in the Georgia House of Representatives. We pray for Speaker Burns and the leadership of this chamber. As they go throughout their day today, I pray that they can feel the presence of your Holy Spirit and experience your love that passes all understanding. God, we ask for you to bless the people of our state. We pray that this would be a place where godly wisdom and righteousness would prevail. We pray that you would allow our communities to flourish and our people to experience your grace. We ask this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's strong. Thank you.
Good job.
Pastor Carter, thank you for that message. Sheila, thank you for being here. Thank you for your journey you're on, and we'll say a prayer for you as well. Jack, good to have you too, my friend. Good to be with you. Doorkeepers, you may open the doors. Members, you may join Pastor Carter in the South Annie room and thank him for his service to us today, and have a photo if you'd like. Members, our doctor of the day, ironically, is brought to us by Representative Chairlady Katie Dempsey. It's Dr. Jason Harrison. Dr. Jason Harrison. Dr. Harrison's down in the aid station. If you need his services, please find time to go by and see Dr. Harrison. Chairman Hilton, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, is recognized. Chairman Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information Audits has read the journal of the previous legislative day and found it to be correct. And Mr. Speaker, if I may, Chairman Terry England, we love you, we miss you, we wish you were here on this special day. And Mr. Speaker, for my colleagues, I'll take a line from the Hunger Games. May the odds ever be in your favor today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I know the former Representative England, dear friend England, Chief of Staff England, appreciates that, and he's getting better. Chairman Hilton, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? Hearing none, the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? Hearing none, the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Representative Administration of the 104th moves following establishes the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 719 by Representative Ure, the 152nd, a bill being entitled Act to Amend and Act to Provide for the Compensation of the Chairperson and members of the Board of Education of Worth County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 720 by Representative Ure, the 152nd, a bill being entitled Act to Amend and Act to reconstitute the Board of Education of Lee County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 721 by Representative Clark, the 108th bill of the 75th, Sharper, the 177th. The bill be titled an Act to amend Part 4 of Article 3, Chapter 1 of Title 40 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to ride share network services.
Motor vehicles.
House Bill 722 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, Petrie, the 166th, and Franklin, of the 160th. Bill be titled an Act to amend an Act establishing the State Court of Bryan County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 723 by Representative Holly, the 116th, McQueen, of the 61st, Glaze, of the 67th, Fry, of the 122nd, Lupton, of the 83rd, and others. Bill be titled an Act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to imposition rate computation and exemptions from income taxes.
The Ways and Means.
House Bill 724 by Representative Franklin of the 160th. The bill be titled an Act to amend and Act to amend, consolidate, create, revise, and supersede the several acts incorporating the city of Pembroke.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 725 by Representative Cummings, the 39th, Fryer, the 122nd, Washburn, of the 144th, Wilkerson, of the 38th, Smith, of the 41st, and others. Bill be titled an Act to amend Code Section 44, 7, 13 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to landlord duties.
Judiciary.
House Bill 726 by Representative Cummings, the 39th, Fryer, the 122nd, Sharper, the 177th, Smith, of the 41st, Wilkerson, of the 38th, and others. Bill be titled an Act to amend Code Section 10, 1, 393.3 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to prohibited use of purchasers' credit cards.
Banks and banking.
House Bill 727 by Representative Williamson of the 112th, Abstration of the 104th, Leverett of the 123rd, Gaines of the 120th, Reeves of the 99th. Bill be titled an Act to amend Part 1 of Article 3, Chapter 5 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general authority, duties, and procedures of the Department of Administrative Services. Yes, sir.
Industry and labor.
House Bill 730 by Representative Petrie, the 166th, Stevens, the 164th, Hitchens, the 161st, Gilliard, the 162nd, Jackson, the 165th. Bill be titled an act to amend the act creating the Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 731 by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd, Ridley, the 22nd, Byrd, the 20th, Thomas, the 21st, Scoggins, the 14th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2A of Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to homestead option sales and use tax.
Ways and Means.
House Resolution 480 by Representative Irwin, and the 32nd, a resolution honoring the life of World War II veteran Bobby Blackwell and dedicating a road in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 512 by Representative Hagan, the 156th, Campbell, the 15th, Jones, the 25th, Petrie, the 166th, Lim, the 98th, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on the Addiction Epidemic and Solutions for Recovery.
Health.
The Senate Bill 9 by Senator Albers, the 56th, Still of the 48th, Estevez, the 35th, Rahman of the 5th, Cowser to the 46th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 3, Chapter 12, and Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions relative to obscenity.
Judiciary non-civil.
Senate Bill 36 by Senator Setzler, the 37th, Brass of the 6th, Anna DeVarte of the 31st, Williams of the 25th, Hickman of the 4th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to state government.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 63 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Gooch of the 51st, Robertson of the 29th, Harbin of the 16th, Hickman of the 4th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 15, Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to miscellaneous provisions under the Quality Basic Education Act.
Education.
Senate Bill 91 by Senator Tillery, the 19th, Watson of the 1st, Hatchett of the 50th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Goodman of the 8th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 18 and Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to state employees' health insurance plan.
Health.
Senate Bill 110 by Senator Anna DeVarte of the 31st, Robertson of the 29th, Estevez of the 35th, and Kirkpatrick of the 32nd. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 15:11(2) of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to definitions relative to the Juvenile Code.
Judiciary juvenile.
Senate Bill 112 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Goodman of the 8th, Anderson of the 24th, Summers of the 13th, Jones of the 22nd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 and Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to selling and other trade practices.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
Senate Bill 124 by Senator Still of the 48th, Donald Zal of the 27th, Payne of the 54th, Anna DeVarte of the 31st, Kennedy of the 18th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to education.
Education.
Senate Bill 126 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Hickman of the 4th, Donald Zal of the 27th, Anna DeVarte of the 31st, Payne of the 54th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 22, 2096.1 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to definitions relative to the Completion Special Schools Act.
Education.
Senate Bill 144 by Senator Watson of the 11th, Gooch of the 51st, Kennedy of the 18th, Beach of the 21st, Goodman of the 8th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 6, Chapter 7 of Title 2 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to liability for use of fertilizers.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
Senate Bill 154 by Senator Hatchett of the 50th, Gooch of the 51st, Kennedy of the 18th, Robertson of the 29th, Anna DeVarte of the 31st, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Titles 20, 35, and 43 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to education.
Education.
Senate Bill 160 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Albers of the 56th, Jones of the 100 of the 10th, Robertson of the 29th, Halpern of the 39th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 46, 390.1 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to reckless stunt driving.
Motor vehicles.
Senate Bill 177 by Senators Anna DeVarte of the 31st, Albers of the 56th, Burns of the 23rd, Robertson of the 29th, Williams of the 25th, and others. A bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to government transparency and campaign finance.
Technology and Infrastructure Innovation.
Senate Bill 180 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Cowser to the 46th, Burns to the 23rd, Sessler to the 37th, Anna DeVarte to the 31st, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 7, Chapter 4, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to high demand apprenticeship program.
Higher education.
Senate Bill 193 by Senator Brass of the 6th, Hatchett of the 50th, Harbison of the 15th, Albers of the 56th, Beach of the 21st, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 4, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to vocational, technical, and adult education.
Higher education.
Senate Bill 199 by Senator Watson of the 11th, Gooch of the 51st, Burns of the 23rd, Goodman of the 8th, Williams of the 25th, and others. The bill be titled an Act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to government transparency and campaign finance.
Governmental affairs.
Senate Bill 201 by Senator Walker of the 20th, Goodman of the 8th, Hodges the 3rd, Tillery of the 19th, Watson of the 11th, and others. Bill be titled an Act to amend Code Section 10.1.393 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to unfair or deceptive practices.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
Senate Bill 241 by Senator Williams of the 25th, Anderson of the 24th, Mallow of the 2nd, Robertson of the 29th, and Parent of the 44th. Bill be titled an Act to amend Chapter 18 and Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to funeral directors and establishments.
Regulated industries.
Senate Resolution 8 by Senator Ann Avarte of the 31st, Robertson of the 29th, Kennedy the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, Albers the 56th, and others. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Deputy Brandon Cunningham and dedicating an intersection in his memory.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution by Senator Albers the 56th, McLaurin of the 14th, Beach of the 21st, Robertson of the 29th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, and others. A resolution honoring the life of Officer Jeremy Labonte and dedicating an interchange in his memory.
Transportation.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 697 by Representative Tarvin of the 2nd, Cameron of the 1st. A bill to provide a homestead exemption from City of Chickamauga Independent School District ad valorem taxes. House Bill 698 by Representative Tarvin of the 2nd, Cameron of the 1st. A bill to provide a homestead exemption from Walker County School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes. House Bill 699 by Representative Wade of the 9th and Chastain of the 7th. A bill to amend an act creating a Board of Elections and Registration of Dawson County. House Bill 700 by Representative Adesanya the 43rd, Beckles of the 96th, Draper of the 90th, a bill relating to prohibited use of purchasers' credit card information by merchant. House Bill 701 by Representative Chokas of the 151st, a bill to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Probate Court of Terrell County. House Bill 702 by Representative Roberts of the 52nd, Draper of the 90th, Park of the 107th, Tran of the 80th, and Campbell of the 35th, a bill relating to primaries and elections. House Bill 703 by Representative Bonner of the 73rd, Mathiak of the 82nd, Bazemore of the 69th, Jackson of the 68th, a bill to amend an act to provide for the homestead exemption from the City of Peachtree City ad valorem taxes for municipal purposes. House Bill 704 by Representative Chokas of the 151st, Jones of the 25th, Dubnick of the 29th, Dickey of the 134th, Blackman of the 146th, and others. A bill relating to maintenance of statistics on architectural and engineering firms doing business with the state and ineligibility of firms. House Bill 705 by Representative Adesanya of the 43rd, McLean of the 109th, Ridley of the 22nd, a bill relating to general provisions relative to identification, regulation of motor vehicles, and traffic. House Bill 706 by Representative Adesanya of the 43rd, McQueen of the 61st, Lallier of the 59th, Dawson of the 65th, and Cannon of the 58th, the bill relating to the Quality Basic Education Act. House Bill 707 by Representative Adesanya of the 43rd, Cummings of the 39th, Lim of the 98th, the bill relating to landlord and tenant. House Bill 708 by Representative Adesanya of the 43rd, Cummings of the 39th, Lim of the 98th, a bill relating to landlord and tenant. House Bill 709 by Representative Anderson of the 10th and Irwin of the 32nd, a bill to authorize the City of Demarest, Georgia, to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 710 by Representative Jackson of the 68th, Mitchell of the 88th, Sanchez of the 42nd, Scott of the 76th, Schofield of the 63rd, a bill relating to commerce and trade and property. House Bill 711 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd, a bill relating to offenses against public order and safety. House Bill 712 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd, a bill relating to general provisions regarding ad valorem taxation of property. House Bill 713 by Representative Scott of the 76, Davis of the 87th, Schofield of the 63rd, and Jackson of the 68th. A bill relating to general provisions regarding the General Assembly. House Bill 714 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st. A bill to amend an act to provide for the creation of one or more community improvement districts in the city of Rincon. House Bill 715 by Representative Berry of the 56th, Kendrick of the 95th, Clark of the 108th, Evans of the 57th, Holcomb of the 101st. A bill relating to fair housing. House Bill 716 by Representative Berry of the 56th, Carpenter of the 4th, Fry of the 122nd, Park of the 107th, Sanchez of the 42nd, and others. A bill relating to the Georgia Student Finance Authority. House Bill 728 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, Draper of the 90th, Ballard of the 147th, Carpenter of the 4th. A bill relating to elections and primaries. House Bill 729 by Representative Miller of the 62nd, Hughley of the 141st, Schofield of the 63rd, Paris of the 142nd, Buckner of the 137th, and others. A bill relating to the Department of Public Health. House Resolution 462 by Representative Roberts of the 52nd, Draper of the 90th, Park of the 107th, Tran of the 80th, Campbell of the 35th. A resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution to provide that the people of the state of Georgia shall have the power to enact, repeal, or amend general statutory law by direct initiative and referendum process. House Resolution 463 by Representative Baker of the 64th, Stinson of the 150th, Davis of the 87th, Taylor of the 92nd, Pennant of the 94th, and others. A resolution designating the month of March as Autoimmune Disease Awareness Month. Senate Bill 20 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Summers of the 13th, Payne of the 54th, Anderson of the 24th, Parents of the 44th. A bill relating to scholarships, loans, and grants. Senate Bill 29 by Senator Williams of the 25th, Alberts of the 56th, Robertson of the 29th, Hodges of the 3rd, Barron of the 30th, and others. A bill relating to DNA sampling, collection, and analysis. Senate Bill 30 by Senator Watson of the 1st, Gooch of the 51st, Kennedy of the 18th, Dixon of the 45th, Dolezal of the 27th, and others. A bill relating to regulation of hospitals and related institutions and the Georgia Composite Medical Board. Senate Bill 31 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th, Gooch of the 51st, Kennedy of the 18th, Anna Duarte of the 31st, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, and others. A bill relating to income taxes. Senate Bill 46 by Senator Harbin of the 16th, Dolezal of the 27th, Tillery of the 19th, Anna Duarte of the 31st, Kennedy of the 18th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions relative to state government. Senate Bill 51 by Senator Setzler of the 37th, Brass of the 6th, Dixon of the 45th, Gann of the 47th, Jones of the 10th, and others. A bill relating to state, county, and municipal road systems. Senate Bill 55 by Senator Hickman of the 4th, Halpern of the 39th, Estevez of the 35th, Still of the 48th, Eccles of the 49th, and others. A bill relating to labor and industrial relations. Senate Bill 56 by Senator Anna Duarte of the 31st, Alberts of the 56th, Robertson of the 29th, Kennedy of the 18th, Gooch of the 51st, and others. A bill relating to the Georgia State Indemnification Fund. Senate Bill 74 by Senator Burns of the 23rd, Walker of the 20th, Dolezal of the 27th, Summers of the 13th, Hickman of the 4th, and others. A bill relating to sale or distribution of harmful materials to minors. Senate Bill 85 by Senator Brass of the 6th, Beach of the 21st, Anna Duarte of the 31st, Harbison of the 15th, Wicks of the 34th, and others. A bill relating to post-secondary education grants for foster children and adopted children. Senate Bill 111 by Senator Alberts of the 56th, Burns of the 23rd, Brahman of the 5th, Still of the 48th, Setzer of the 37th, and others. A bill relating to commerce and trade. Senate Bill 139 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, Still of the 48th, Coucher of the 46th. A bill to amend an act to incorporate the city of Mulberry. Senate Bill 151 by Senator Beach of the 21st, Alberts of the 56th, Still of the 48th. A bill to create the Joint Development Authority for North Fulton municipalities. Senate Bill 175 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Beach of the 21st, Brass of the 6th, Goodman of the 8th, Hodges of the 3rd, and others. A bill relating to general provisions regarding elections and primaries. Senate Bill 185 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Gooch of the 51st, Alberts of the 56th, Summers of the 13th, Burns of the 23rd, and others. A bill relating to correctional institutions of state and counties. Senate Bill 195 by Senator Hofstetler of the 52nd, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson of the 1st, Parents of the 44th, and Orrick of the 36th. A bill relating to pharmacies. Senate Bill 206 by Senator Summers of the 13th, Tillery of the 19th. A bill to create the South Georgia Energy Authority. Senate Bill 234 by Senator Payne of the 54th. A bill to provide a homestead exemption from City of Dalton Independent School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes. Senate Bill 235 by Senator Payne of the 54th, a bill to provide a homestead exemption from Whitfield County School District ad valorem taxes for educational purposes. Senate Bill 237 by Senator Strickland of the 42nd, Anderson of the 43rd, a bill to amend an act creating and establishing the Newton County Public Facilities Authority. Senate Bill 302 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, a bill to provide a homestead exemption from Peach County ad valorem taxes for county purposes. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. Mr. Clerk, will read.
Representative Chris Irwin, the 32nd District Chairman of the Committee on Education, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education has had under its consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with following recommendations. House Resolution 174 do pass by substitute. House Bill 442 do pass. House Bill 483 do pass. House Bill 133 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Chris Irwin of the 32nd District Chairman. Representative Don Parsons, the 44th District Chairman of the Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with following recommendations. House Bill 249 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Don Parsons, the 44th District Chairman. Representative Victor Anderson of the 10th District Chairman of the Committee on Governmental Affairs submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Governmental Affairs has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with following recommendations. House Bill 397 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 502 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 604 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 613 do pass. House Bill 728 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Victor Anderson of the 10th District Chairman. Representative Chuck Martin of the 49th District Chairman of the Committee on Higher Education submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Higher Education has had under its consideration the following bills and resolutions of the House. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 88 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 217 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 419 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 541 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 602 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 686 do pass by committee substitute. House Resolution 450 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Chuck Martin of the 49th District Chairman. Representative Bill Werkheiser of the 157th District Chairman of the Committee on Industry and Labor submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Industry and Labor has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. It's instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 311 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Bill Werkheiser of the 157th District Chairman. Representative Lumsden of the 12th District Chairman of the Committee on Insurance submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Insurance has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 101 do pass. House Bill 649 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Lumsden of the 12th District Chairman. Representative Sharon Cooper, the 45th District Chairman of the Committee on Public and Community Health, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Public and Community Health has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 657 do pass. House Bill 668 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 717 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Sharon Cooper of the 45th District Chairman. Representative Mike Jokas of the 151st District Chairman of the Committee on Small Business Development submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Small Business Development has had under its consideration the following bill of the House. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 704 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Mike Jokas, the 151st District Chairman. Representative Rick Jaspers, the 11th District Chairman of the Committee on Transportation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation has had under its consideration the following bills and resolutions of the House. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 638 do pass by committee substitute. House Resolution 7 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Rick Jaspers of the 11th District Chairman. Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District Chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Ways and Means has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 260 do pass. House Bill 330 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 266 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 341 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 357 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 511 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 586 do pass. House Bill 577 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Members, if we can have your attention, please. We're moving on to morning orders. We have some folks here with us today we need to recognize. Some members will come to your seats. Give your attention to the member in the well. Representative Schofield and Chairman Crow recognized for a morning order. Representative Kim Schofield, Representative Alan Powell, Representative Teddy Reese, Representative Martin Montahan, Representative Sanchez.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today we rise. We want to honor a group of folks that are here today, and what they do is very important to all of our safety throughout the state. The Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police are here today. We've got many members up in the gallery. For those that are up there, if you would stand, please, if you're a member of the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. So I've got a resolution I'll be presenting to them here in just a little bit out in the ante room, and we've been doing some photographs, and also Mike Ayers, who was recognized as the Outstanding Chief of the Year last year by the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, just retired as a post director. So wonderful to have y'all here. Thank you. And Representative Schofield, if you'd come up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As members of the House, I rise today to recognize the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. They're in the gallery. We have a resolution. Can you all stand? This is their 10th anniversary. I'm celebrating them. I'm cheering them. Thank you for being here. Mr. Speaker, we yield the well.
Thank you, members. Welcome to the Capitol. We appreciate each and every one of you and what you do to keep Georgians safe. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll keep being supportive of you. So thank you so much for being here. Representative Park Cannon, ladies and friends.
All right.
Who's Representative Lim with you? Okay, gotcha. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here to celebrate Mujeres Day at the Capitol and those who are here for that. Mujeres means women in Spanish. It is brought to you by the Lambda Theta Alpha Latin Sorority Incorporated, Alpha Sigma Alumni Chapter, and they are the first Latina sorority starting in 1975. So they are celebrating 50 años, 50 years. Today is a day to celebrate their advocacy for women across Georgia. They will be in room 230 today until 3 o'clock for any members who want to stop by and say hola. And for those who are here, if you will just stand so we can applaud you. Gracias por estar aquí. Bienvenidos a tu Capitolio. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thanks for joining Representative Santos and Representative Sanchez. Thank y'all for coming up. Welcome to the People's House. We're glad to have you and hope you have a good day here today. Representative Bell is recognized for a morning order. Representative Eric Bell. He's coming. And friends.
Thank you for acknowledging me today, Speaker. Today in the gallery we have Life Without Rain, the widows and widowers of the state of Georgia. This is a very important organization, for they have continued to live without the partner that they love, and they continue to sow the seeds in Georgia that we all have. May they please stand and be acknowledged in the will for the hard work they do and the sacrifices they make for our communities. May you be loved and your loved ones will be remissed.
As a past widow, I want to thank you all so much for being here and hope you enjoy your visit at the state capitol. Thank you. May God bless you.
You gonna yield?
I yield the will.
Thank you, members. Welcome to the Capitol. Thank you for what y'all do, the comfort y'all give. God bless you all. We appreciate y'all being here today. Thank you. Chairman Chokas is recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've got my Marion County Middle High School FFA students up in the gallery on the right. Stand up, guys. They've got their blue jackets on, and they're accompanied by John Hagan, the best FFA instructor in the state. Thank you very much. Welcome to the People's House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I saw those jackets earlier. Y'all looking good. We're glad to have y'all. And thanks for applying yourself and helping other students and helping yourself. We appreciate you. Y'all have a bright future. Thanks for being here. All right, members, we're ready to go. We're moving on to the rules calendar. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 532, 532?
House Bill 532 by Representative Deloach, the 167th to be titled an act to amend Code Section 6A12 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to the annual grant when state owns properties and calculations so as to revise provisions related to certain counties claiming such grant. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The gentleman from Darien, Chairman Buddy Deloach, is recognized to present the bill. Representative Deloach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I hope you'll allow me to start off this morning by saying that I suspect my old seatmate Terry England is watching us this morning, and so I want to take this opportunity to say, Terry, I'm going to tell you one more time how much I love you, and I want to tell you that you might not be physically present on this floor this morning, but your spirit and your influence is felt here every day and will continue to be until you get back here, and we look forward to that. And I also briefly need to say thank you, and now I'll talk about this bill. House Bill 532 strikes from the code section 2 lines, line 40 and 41, and on the last page, lines 69 and 70, and the effect of those 2 things is to allow the Department of Natural Resources to use grant money that we appropriate every year to pay counties for actual work such as road grading and maintenance that they do on state property. And Mr. Speaker, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
The gentleman has no questions. Did a good job. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. Previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 532, the yeas are 168, the nays are 0. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 52?
House Bill 52 by Representative Rice, the 139th and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to homestead exemption by qualified disabled veterans filing requirements. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Rice, Representative Carmen Rice, is recognized to present House Bill 52. The lady's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. This bill, Bill 52, was presented last year by Representative Clay Perkle, if you recall, and the bill passed unanimously through the House, so it's another one that we're moving to the Senate again. And this bill is clarifying language, as there's been some confusion in some counties regarding homestead exemption for the unremarried spouses and minor children of a deceased disabled veteran. As these families move from county to county across our state, as often happens during a lifetime change, this bill clarifies that the unremarried spouse and minor children of a disabled veteran would maintain their homestead exemption status. This is not extending the exemption, but rather it clarifies the exemption would travel with them to that residence. Some counties were interpreting one way and some were interpreting another. This bill gives consistency and predictability to surviving unremarried spouses and minor children of our veterans across our state. And with that, Speaker, I'll take questions.
The lady has a question to your left down front. One of your, let's see, I think she's represents that part of the state you come from. Representative Hughley from the Columbus delegation is recognized to ask a question.
Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. Does the gentle lady yield?
Yes.
Isn't it true that we have a lot of military spouses in our area, and people in Columbus will appreciate you doing this for them?
Absolutely. Thank you.
The lady has no further questions.
Thank you. I'm honored to present this bill on behalf of our veteran families in Georgia, and I ask for your vote and support.
It's great when folks work together. Ladies yielded the will. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose Representative Hefner rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, sir.
State your inquiry, ma'am.
Is it not true that I will be supporting this bill simply because of the effort that it causes to maintain the integrity of this body's effort to support the veterans in this state?
I know the lady to be a veteran and support veterans, so thank you for the inquiry.
Thank you, sir.
For what purpose Representative New rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that this is the representative's first bill?
Thank you, Representative New. She almost slipped away. I had a question. I guess I could do a parliamentary inquiry, but I guess I won't. I bet we'll get you back up. The vote is changing dramatically. Oh, it's getting worse all the time. Mr. Clerk, you better hurry up. Well, no, we're not going to close it. Let's see. We have one question I want to recognize. For what purpose does Chairman Martin rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
I may have to get some help, so don't go anywhere. A state your inquiry.
Yes, sir. This is to you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to know this gentleman's opinion on the lady slipping in there and getting it by us. What you said you had a thought on that. My parliamentary inquiries. Would you care to share that with the body?
I think she's one of the smarter members of this body to do that. So very stealthy. Have all members now voted? Congratulations, I think. Have all members now voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 52, the yeas are 170, the nays are 5. You'll pay for that. I'd be writing that letter to the clerk right now if I were you. Congratulations. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority, 170 yeas, 170 nays, 5. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Congratulations. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 425?
House Bill 425 by Representative Burchetta, the 176 to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, and Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annexator relating to imposition rate computation exemptions and credits so as to provide for a tax credit for the purchase of emergency power generators. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Will Burchett is recognized to present the bill. The gentleman from the 176th House District.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll be brief. Colleagues, I bring before you House Bill 425. It is a disaster preparedness bill, and what the bill seeks to do is allow for a tax credit for generators and switches for gas stations and nursing care facilities. The cap is $25,000 per store, and the aggregate cap is $5 million. It's only allowable through through December 31st, 2026. The intent of this bill is to assure that our gas stations put in a generator and a switch, so when the power goes out for 24 days that folks can get gasoline to put in their generators, as well as nursing care facilities will be able to have the incentive to put in a generator so that their folks, their vulnerable folks, will be able to have power to recharge oxygen tanks and things of that nature. And that's the nature of the bill, Mr. Speaker. If I have no questions, I will yield the will.
You have a couple of questions.
Very good.
Representative Newton, to your right, has a question. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, my friend, I do.
Isn't it true that these convenience stores with gasoline, but also necessary foodstuffs, milk, everything that was needed, were crucial in that swath of Georgia from Valdosta through Augusta that made such a difference during Hurricane Helene? They were some of the first to get open. They tried to stay open even 24 hours a day in so many areas. And isn't it true that we appreciate the effort they did, and this is going to help them do it even better the next time?
Yes, 100%. And thank you to the chairman for helping perfect the bill.
Representative Carpenter, to your right in the rear, is recognized for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true this legislation would greatly help the businesses and the people of South Georgia that were devastated with the hurricanes?
It will help everybody in the state. Yes, sir, it will.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to yield the will.
Gentleman has yielded the will. No further questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 425, the yeas are 171, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 111-111?
House Bill 111. by the representative from the 103rd to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to imposition rate computation exemptions and credits relative to income taxes so as to reduce the rate of tax. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. That committee recommends that this bill do pass. Those go back.
Representative Hahn, the governor's floor leader, is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I bring before you HB 111 on behalf of Governor Kemp to accelerate the tax cut for Georgia's individual income tax. The origin of this tax cut acceleration goes back to 2022 legislative session when the General Assembly passed and the governor signed into law HB 1437 to provide the largest income tax cut in our state's history. The original bill planned to initiate a flat tax beginning at 5.49% for tax year 2024 from 5.75 in 2023, and then allowed for an annual step down in our income tax rate to an eventual 4.99% by tax year 2029. However, thanks to our conservative budgeting and your support, last year we accelerated the rate from 5.49% to 5.39% for tax year 2024 with HB 1015. This bill and this year's proposal will further accelerate the rate by an additional 20 basis points to bring the rate from 5.39% to 5.19% effective July 1st, 2025 for tax year 2025. This acceleration in the reduction will save the taxpayers $860 million. Overall, this additional 20 basis point reduction will be part of a 56 basis point total reduction in individual income tax since the governor signed into law HB 1437. So essentially, we started at 5.75% back in 2022, and now we are looking to get down to 5.19% just in a 3-year time frame. While other states are raising taxes on their citizens, and while we're facing sky-high prices and can least afford it, we are doing the opposite here in Georgia. We have a surplus budget, and we are able to put money back into our taxpayers. Mr. Speaker, that's the bill, and I'll take any questions.
Lady has a couple of questions, and I'll let members know we have a number of speakers signed up to speak that are opposed to this bill. I'm going to recognize Representative Drenner for a question to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that in the past few weeks we've seen uncertainty in federal funding and tariffs from the new administration? We've seen talks of cuts to K through 12 school funding, cuts to Medicaid and Medicare. And is this really the best time to accelerate an income tax cut that primarily benefits wealthy people in Georgia?
Thank you, Representative. Several things in that comment. We've been dealing with inflation for the last 4 years, yet during that time, Georgia has had a surplus and we have conservatively budgeted. And so therefore, that's why this year and last year we're able to accelerate and still be able to keep up with all of our expenses. I don't think that this bill only benefits the wealthy. This is a overall will get a tax cut for all Georgians, so it will benefit 100% of Georgians.
Representative Wade, to your right in the back, is recognized for a question.
Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
Is it not true, due to our fiscal conservatism and the fact that Georgia has been the #1 place in which to do business for over a decade, we're in a position to be able to provide this tax relief for Georgians?
Absolutely, and that is exactly why we are able to do this for our hardworking Georgians.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Blackman, right up the center aisle on your left, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
Isn't it true the original legislation provided for a significant increase in the standard deduction and was front-loaded with that increase and took many Georgia taxpayers off the tax rolls entirely, as well as provided that $32,000 for a family of 4 would not be taxed one single penny?
Absolutely, and you would know the best, Chairman.
All right, thank you for bringing the bill.
Thank you.
Representative Clark, to your left, Representative Jasmine Clark, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
So can you give us some numbers? If I am an individual that makes about, let's say, $45,000 a year, what does this tax credit look like for my family? Let's say I'm a family of 3.
So it's not a tax credit, it's a tax rate cut. So when you file your regular income tax, the amount that you are being taxed, that rate is being lowered. So I can't do the math in my head right now, but whatever you are paying in the tax rate is being reduced. And that's why I say it is being reduced for all Georgians. So whether you make $300,000 or you make $40,000, you are paying a less rate and a lower rate for your income tax.
Thank you.
The lady, we have a couple of questions, but Leader F. Stration, right down in front of you, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
Ma'am, is it not true that if this body passes House Bill 111, we're on track for Georgians to keep more of their hard-earned funds and to show our commitment to keeping Georgia the #1 state to live, work, and raise a family?
Absolutely. And again, this is for all Georgians. We want to make sure that they get their hardworking taxpayer money back, and this is what this bill does. Mr. Speaker, I know we have a long day and there are many people that are signed up to speak, so I will yield the well.
Thank you. The lady has yielded the well. We have a number of folks who want to speak that are opposed to the bill. We have 3 that are opposed, Representing Draper, Sanchez, and Rahman. I'm going to give you up to 5 minutes. Up to 5 minutes. Representative Draper is recognized.
Let's see if I can put this up here. All right. All right, Mr. Speaker, members of the General Assembly, I rise today not out of opposition to tax relief, but out of a deep concern for fiscal responsibility and to hold this chamber accountable to the standards that we set for ourselves just last year. Call me old-fashioned, but I like to do what I say and say what I mean. Last year, I voted yes for HB 1015, which was a measured plan to ratchet down the income tax rate over multiple years. If you were in the House last year, you probably voted yes for that bill too. The final tally for that bill was 165 yay votes and 0 nay votes. I left a copy of House Bill 1015 on everyone's desk, but let me break it down for you. House Bill 1015 promised a 0.1% income tax reduction in 2024 from 5.49% to 5.39%, but then it went on to say that beginning this year, the tax rate should be reduced another 0.1%, so long as certain financial benchmarks were reached. The bill goes on to say, keep reducing that tax rate by 0.1% every year, so long as we continue to meet those financial health markers. And what does the bill say to do if we don't hit those financial health markers? It says delay further tax rate reductions for a year, reassess if we are hitting our goals, and proceed from there. And you know what? I was good with that approach because it was thoughtful and conservative approach to tax relief. It balanced the return of revenue to Georgians with the financial health of the Georgia economy. I
also really appreciated that it gave Georgia citizens, businesses, and industry a guide map for how we were going to approach tax relief over the course of the next several years. I like the idea of giving the public information they can use to plan for the future. And I certainly believe that if we choose to give the public a guide map that we know they will rely on in planning, we should stick to that guide map. What we should not do is tell the public we are going to do one thing and then reverse course the very next year. But that is precisely what we are doing with House Bill 111. Georgia did not meet its financial benchmarks that we laid out in House Bill 1015. That was a prerequisite for additional tax relief in 2025. Had we reached those benchmarks, we would have automatically received another tax rate reduction this year without the need for this bill. But we didn't. We didn't meet those benchmarks. And instead of holding ourselves to our own standards, we are now passing legislation to circumvent the rules that we thought were necessary. That is not fiscal responsibility. So you may be asking, how do we know we didn't meet our financial benchmarks that we laid out in HB 1015? Well, one of these benchmarks is that the governor's revenue estimate for the next fiscal year must be 3% higher than the current year. That's lines 21 and 22 of the bill of HB 1015 if you're following along. The 2026 revenue estimate is not 3% higher than the 2025 revenue estimate. As a matter of fact, it is 7% lower. So in other words, we didn't even come close to reaching our goal. And you don't have to take my word for it. Take the word from the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. Under HB 1015, the Georgia Office of Planning and Budget is charged with determining whether we met those financial benchmarks. And if we had, it would have had to issue a report to the Speaker and to key legislators saying as much. Well, I went over to the Office of Planning and Budget and asked for the report. What they told me is that since we did not meet our financial benchmarks, they did not produce the report, so they did not have a report to give me. HB 111 basically asks us to ignore our vote last year on HB 1015. It asks us to ignore the wisdom in that bill of not reducing tax rates further if the financial health of the state cannot support it. And why are we ignoring HB 1015? Why are we undoing our own work? So that certain elected officials who have higher political aspirations can campaign on giving tax breaks, even if it has a dire financial impact on Georgia, even when it goes against the standards that we set in this legislative branch? To that I say no. Carry your own water. If you want to give tax breaks, meet the standards that we have set in this chamber. I see my time is done, so Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Thank you, Representative Draper. Representative Sanchez is recognized for up to 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am here opposed to House Bill 111 because Georgians are tired of a government that is only benefiting the wealthy elite and not the rest of us. This bill provides essentially a flat tax cut for Georgians. In theory, that sounds equal, but in the real world, Georgians do not make the same income. The top 5% are making at least $300,000 a year, while the bottom 20% are making barely $20,000 a year. Instead of fixing this huge disparity, we are giving a massive, wasteful tax cut to the wealthiest Georgians and not investing in programs that serve everyone in this state. Nearly half of Georgians will only receive 5% of the benefits of this bill, as you can see from the chart. That means the median family will get this, $70 a year from this bill. That is less than $6 a month. That doesn't even cover a meal at Cookout anymore, let alone childcare, rent, health insurance, energy bills, or your kids' college tuition. Our state ranks third highest in the nation on inequality. The average rent has gone up $400 a month since 2020 in Georgia. Our people are hurting, and at a time where the federal government is cutting much needed services for our community, this assembly is failing to step up to the plate to help working Georgians. We're not providing, instead of providing help for our people, we are proposing to not invest in our agencies that help regular people and instead benefit the wealthy. But hey, at least you'll get an extra cup of coffee every month. Working Georgians deserve tax relief, I agree. But you know what they deserve even more than that? The ability to work 40 hours a week on one income and be able to live comfortably, buy a house, and support their families. Instead of giving working Georgians crumbs and doing a victory lap, how about we actually invest in our people and invest in our communities? How about we invest in affordable health care for Georgians? As has been said many times, expanding Medicaid will give 440,000 uninsured people in Georgia insurance. Affordable health care. What about affordable housing? How about we invest in building homes in Georgia to increase supply and stop these huge corporations buying up all this property, jacking up the prices, and making it unaffordable for the rest of us? Instead of giving $70 a year back to working Georgians, how about we pay them $20 an hour a living wage so they can afford to live and thrive in our state? Instead of addressing these dire crises, we're pouring money down the drain to give a nice tax cut to the wealthiest of Georgians, some of which happen to be in this room. Because let's be frank, this is a bill made by the wealthy for the wealthy. So let's stop wasting our time with handouts to the wealthy and instead invest in working families here in Georgia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
The gentleman had a question, but he yielded the well. Representative Ramon is recognized for up to 5 minutes. The lady is recognized to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today I rise in opposition of House Bill 111. House Bill 111 is being sold as a tax cut, but is frankly a scam for most Georgians. We hear the reasons for this bill is to try to keep more money in Georgians' pockets to spend how they see fit. The problem is this bill as it currently exists would barely return about $70, as you heard, for the entire year to most Georgians while continuing to underfund important programs. In fact, the cost of about $748 million would go, which 70% of that would go to the top earners in our state making 6 figures or more, but just 4% of that, just 4% going to the rest. The thing is, it is getting harder every day just to make ends meet for so many people. We're experiencing larger economic factors than anybody is willing to be honest about last year, and while we bicker about politics, your average everyday family is struggling more every day. We're seeing, for example, worsening student outcomes. While there are many reasons for this, one is a lot of teachers can no longer afford to teach. And on top of that, as we lose teachers, our classroom sizes are expanding. And more than that, you don't think that a child whose parents can't afford to put food on the table isn't going to struggle and eventually act out? We're expecting more from children that we are hurting than ourselves. And while this may be an impassioned speech about tax breaks, it's also about our values. These parents are being forced to take on 2 to 3 jobs, sometimes 4. They're doing this to make ends meet. And we're saying to them, you know what? We'll throw you a little something, but we're going to keep the rest to give to those that we know. And it's been tax break after tax break that benefits the very few. Oh, and by the way, we're also telling them that as things get harder, we are also going to make it harder for them to qualify for necessary programs. And on top of that, we're also going to refuse to expand already existing programs to help more Georgians because we don't have enough money. And we don't have enough money because we keep giving it to the top earners. And on and on and on. Our values are so upside down. The reason we have this bill, as my colleague mentioned, is we're actually behind benchmarks. And I think it's a travesty that we keep saying we can't expand Medicaid because of money. We can't provide a poverty rate for the QBE formula because of money. But we can absolutely give the already wealthy back more money. You don't think this is selling our future for cents on the dollar? You don't think that lack of investment in our children is going to matter down the line? It matters to Georgians. There are ways to put more money back in people's pockets without taking what little they have. There are programs and bills on the table, like the Earned Income Tax Credit, that lets parents spend more time with their kids. But instead of doing programs like that in our state, we're dangling a little bit to agree to give up so much more. Colleagues, I strongly urge you to support me in opposition to this bill. The decisions we make here and the values we have are beyond contradictory, and they are causing a lot of pain in our state, so we can pat ourselves on the back for saying that we provided a tax cut. Because here's the reality. Giving people tax breaks like this is the equivalent of skipping out on your bills and handing out money to make you popular. It gets you some pats on the back. It might even get you an award. But the reality is your bills are still unpaid. The same applies to this. The same applies to the surplus. We have people struggling, and we keep money sitting in our banks. We're not even going to bother to expand how much we're helping you. That's what we're saying today. I want to be clear, this is not envy. I know a lot of you think that the reason many of us have this attitude is because we think, oh, we're just upset about what people have. But I want you to understand the deep-seated concern that I have is greed that we continue to enable, that has continued to squeeze Americans and Georgians more and more. Everything now has a shareholder fee. Everything now is more predatory and extractionary, and we expect people to be okay while we continue to build hurdle after hurdle. This is not only immoral, it's also bad for a healthy and robust market. Today, the top 10% of earners account for 50% of all spending because the other 90% can't even afford the basics. You heard me correctly. Not only can they not afford to splurge, they cannot afford the basics, meaning people and workers specifically are being pushed into homelessness. They're not just becoming homeless because they're not working, they are working and becoming homeless. It is our job to level the playing field and negotiate on behalf of all Georgians, not just our friends. I am tired of becoming middle management for those who want to keep making more money at the expense of everybody else. I strongly urge you to vote no. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
The lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? We do have a minority report for up to 20 minutes, and we have three speakers. Whip Park is first. We'll let you guys decide how you divide up the time. Representative Park is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I rise not as a Democrat or a Republican, but as a proud Georgian committed to the long-term economic strength of our great state. We all share common values: fiscal responsibility, economic opportunity, and ensuring that every hard-working Georgian can afford the basic necessities of life. Unfortunately, House Bill 111 does not reflect these values. Instead, it undermines Georgia's financial future while offering little relief to those who need it most. At a time when inflation has driven up the cost of groceries, rent, and health care, Georgia families need responsible tax policy that alleviates their burden without putting our state's economy at risk. HB 111 takes the wrong approach. While it may be marketed as a broad-based tax cut, the reality is, as my colleagues have so eloquently stated, is that it overwhelmingly benefits the wealthiest Georgians while offering minimal relief to working and middle-class families. I'd like to encourage my colleagues and those who are watching, look at the screen, right? For my colleagues, how many of our constituents are making $2 million and more a year? HB 111 reduces the state income tax rate from 5.39% to 5.19% starting in 2025. The benefits are starkly uneven. The top 20% of earners will receive nearly 80% of the total tax savings, with millionaires receiving thousands of dollars in benefits annually. Meanwhile, the bottom 60% of Georgians, those earning middle class or lower incomes, will see less than $6 a month in savings. $6 a month in savings for the vast majority of Georgians. Y'all, you can't even afford a dozen eggs with $6 a month. And at the same time, this will cost the state nearly $1 billion in lost revenue by 2026 that may force lawmakers to either cut essential services or increase fees elsewhere to compensate. Now, it's been argued that cutting taxes across the board will generate economic growth, but history and economic data tell us otherwise. Past state-level tax cuts of this nature, where the majority of benefits go to the wealthiest, have not resulted in significant job creation or income growth for average families. Instead, they have led to budget shortfalls, underfunded infrastructure, and cuts to essential services like education and healthcare. Georgia currently boasts a AAA credit rating, the highest possible, which allows us to borrow money at lower interest rates for critical projects like roads, bridges, and public safety. But HB 111 jeopardizes this financial standing. By reducing our state's revenue stream without a clear plan to replace it, we risk being forced into reactionary budget cuts that harm essential programs, including law enforcement funding, rural hospital support, and public education. Fiscal conservatism does not mean reckless tax cuts that threaten the state's financial future. True conservative leadership means ensuring a responsible, balanced budget that invests in long-term economic growth while keeping taxes fair and sustainable. If we truly want to reduce the tax burden on working families, there are better solutions. Expand targeted tax relief for low and middle-income Georgians through increased exemptions and credits, approaches that directly put money in the pockets of those who need it most. Invest in infrastructure, healthcare, and workforce development, which not only create jobs, but also drive long-term economic growth that benefits all Georgians. Let's ensure fiscal responsibility by aligning tax cuts with clear, sustainable sources of revenue, rather than relying on optimistic projections that could lead to future deficits. HB 111 is not a responsible approach to tax reform. It is a risky, top-heavy tax giveaway that benefits a few at the expense of the many. It is bad economics, bad policy, and bad for Georgia's long-term financial health. So I urge all my colleagues, and especially my Republican colleagues, those who believe in real conservative fiscal values, to reconsider this approach. Rather, let's work together on a bipartisan, responsible tax relief reform that actually benefits hard-working families and keeps Georgia's economy strong. Now is not the time for giveaways to the wealthiest among us. Now is a time for real leadership. So let's stand up for the people we were elected to serve and reject House Bill 111. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Representative Adesanya is recognized to speak to the bill, HB 111.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Friends, I rise today to speak against House Bill 111. Not because I oppose tax relief for hardworking Georgians, but because this is not a tax credit, it is a tax scam. Giving tax break can be beneficial, especially in difficult economic times, but HB 111 falls short of that. Yes, Georgians deserve relief, especially as people struggle with the rising cost. It is no secret that the cost of living has gone up since January 20th with these misguided tariffs on imported goods, and our solution is to hand out tax break to corporations and wealthy people who shouldn't need any more money by now. And we leave many Georgians behind suffering. At a time where rural hospitals are closing down and our schools are underfunded, and inflation continues to head towards the ceiling, and this body solution is to hand $500 million to the wealthiest 20%, while the average Georgian sees just $70 per year. As an entrepreneur myself with over 30 employees, and I imagine this can probably be beneficial for me in some ways, but I didn't come here to enrich my own pocket. I ran for office to stand for and stand with the ordinary people. Leadership is a privilege to better the life of others. It is not an opportunity for you to satisfy your own personal greed. 2 weeks ago, we passed House Bill 223 to give tax credit to certain timber producers. While I supported it, as my vote indicates, and this chamber supported it in a strong bipartisan fashion. I must be completely honest with you all. It is a shame. It is a shame when you look at the unspoken design of that bill, you will observe that many members of this chamber, high-ranking members too, are the ones who will hijack those tax credit, because many of them are timber farmers. They export timbers, peanut farmers, and other agricultural products. It is a shame. We must also consider the long-term risk. If revenue declines or we fail to grow at the expected rate, Georgia could face budget shortfalls, and that might lead to future tax hikes or cuts to essential services. I mean, it is no secret. It seems that folks are ready to campaign beginning this summer, and this is what this bill is all about. So, probably talking about what tax cut they gave to who. Look, you have to make a decision if you want to be for public service or you want to be for self-service. Quit hiding and pretend that you are doing the people's work because you are doing your pocket work. Folks, I don't think anyone here needs any more convincing to vote no on HB 111 in its current form. So let us work toward a smarter and fairer tax policy that truly puts Georgians first. Thank you. I yield.
The gentleman is yielded well. Representative Buckner is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'm going to talk to you from my perspective as a mother. I hope all of you have a child in your life that you've taken to a store sometime and you've watched them see something in that store and their eyes just pop wide open and they smile and they're gleeful and they see something they really, really want. I hope you've had that experience. And I hope that only a few times you were faced with the fact that the item that they want is not appropriate for them and you had to say no. Or that the item that they wanted, you really didn't have the money for. And you didn't want to tell them and make them feel that they were poor, but you really couldn't afford it. Or for me, sometimes the worst is, well, I know I've got the money in savings in like a rainy day fund, but the refrigerator or the car or the stove's been a little fickle lately, and if I buy this now and that breaks, what am I going to do? That's where I feel like we are with this bill. To me, the hardest thing is to say no to someone when they want something and there's anything possible I could do to give it to them. I want to do that. I want to give people things. And right now, with the way people are hurting all across our state, I want to give them every chance to have every penny that they can have to buy every egg they want. I want them to have what they need. There's some things I know, and I think you know as well. I know the governor has a goal to lower Georgia's income tax rate to 4.99%. And I assume he feels his term limit clock ticking and wants to check it off and get it done. I know that the money involved with this is just in hundreds of millions of dollars and not billions, like we have in the reserves. And I know that citizens need every penny that they can get. They are afraid. They are afraid of the unknown cost. They are afraid of the continuing increase in cost. And they are afraid of what might happen with the federal generated tariffs. I know we don't know what's coming our way. We don't have that crystal ball that tells us what's coming our way. But we do know that we have a budget that relies heavily on federal dollars, anywhere from 25 to 32% every budget year. And we don't know how much of that money is going to stay somewhere in Washington or come down to us. And I do know the man that sat in the aisle seat there many years ago, Mr. Tom Buck, who was the Ways and Means chair. And he thought the AAA bond rating of Georgia was the most important thing for us to take care of. Quite honestly, on a side conversation, he might say it was more important than Medicaid for kids. But he really felt that that was the way we could have the money that we needed to do those things in the state of Georgia. Bond ratings are critical to our success. Bond ratings that are lower than AAA cost money. To keep bond ratings, you have to do several things. You have to have positive employment trends. You have to have strong budget performance. You have to have balanced revenue sources. You have to have the ability to overcome financial and cover your financial obligations. And you have to maintain a reserve. And you have to honor your own statutes. I know we talk sometimes about things being either or, but sometimes choice is an option. And I know that's kind of wording that makes people nervous, but we have a chance today to put real money in the hands of citizens that'll probably come up later, and that's Representative McDonald's bill HB 112. It is a more fair disbursement of funds. It is not a permanent change in our tax rates, and it is a possibility to help some of the people in our state that need it in these uncertain times that are evidenced by the recent Atlanta Federal Reserve announcement of 2.8% drop in the GDP for the first quarter. Times are uncertain. I just do not feel this is the time for us to make this rate change. I know we want to be like other states and have a low tax rate, but when you look at those other states with those lower tax rates, have you also looked at their bond rating? Have you also looked at their budgets? And have you looked at their economy to see how it compares with us? As I had to say far too often to my children, I just can't buy that today. I cannot buy this today. And I do not think we should pass this piece of legislation in these uncertain times. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
The lady has yielded the well. That completes our minority report. We have up to 20 minutes. You don't have to take it all. For the chair's time, Representative Blackman, you're going to share your chairman's time? He's going to defer to Whip Burchett for the first comments during the chairman's time. Representative Burchett is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this started a bit earlier than I thought it would today, but I'm going to come in here and try to just refute some of these ideals. Firstly, it's interesting to me that a colleague of mine would come in here and say that we need not give a tax break. We need not give people's money back. We don't want to give them their money because we think that we can spend it better than them. Since when has the state of Georgia or the federal government ever spent my dollars better than I can spend them? I would submit to you that I know what kind of hamburger I like to buy. I know what kind of bananas I like to buy, oranges, what gasoline I put in my truck. I don't know any state politician or state commissioner that can tell me that I can spend my money better than I can. This ideal that we do a better job of spending our Georgians' money than they do is preposterous. It is crazy. It is nuts. I can't understand for the life of me how the party of the people can come in here and say that we don't want to give you your money back. We want your money because we know better than you. How in the world do we do that, folks? That is just nuts. To me, my perspective is that anytime anybody earns $1, some parties want to take more of that dollar to offer it to other people. I don't understand that. I wasn't raised that way, I suppose. If I earn $1, I want to spend my money. I want to buy stuff for my kids. I want to buy stuff for my family. But to say that an entity other than me can spend my money better than me is totally nuts, and I can't figure it out. One of my colleagues said, this gives a break to the most wealthy, the wealthiest folks in this chamber. And I wish that graphic was still up there, but without sounding condescending, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but this is a percentage rate. And the way percentages work is it's applied to amount, and it takes the same percentage of that amount away from our folks. So this income tax is a percentage rate of what you earn. So, of course, you take more from someone that makes more, and you give back more to someone that makes more. But I would submit to you, someone got in this well and said that $70 is not enough. $70 is not a lot. But I can tell you, to a working single mother with 2 kids, $70 buys dinner, maybe 2 nights in a row. That buys dinner 2 nights in a row. But my colleagues think that's a bad idea. You think that's a bad idea? It's a bad idea for a single mother to buy dinner for her kids? How is that a bad idea, friends? I don't get it. I just don't get it. One of my colleagues said that these other states have no income tax, and have you looked at their bond rating? But one of them is Florida, 0 income tax, AAA bond rating. You guys can look it up, Google. It took me 5 seconds to figure that out. Show me in this bill, anywhere, show me in this bill where this tax break gives a break to the wealthy and doesn't give it to the lowest income earners in this state. Point to the words, point to the lines, show me where that is. I will help you strike it, because that is not what's happened here. It is terrible for someone to come in here and characterize this bill as giving tax breaks to the most wealthy and not giving them to the lowest earners in this state. That is a terrible mischaracterization. It's a downright lie, folks. It is a lie. It is a percentage. 0.202% is what we're cutting for everybody in this state, regardless of what you make, from the lowest earners to the highest earners. It's the most fair way to apply taxes. And I would really appreciate it if we would just characterize for what it is. You know, for whatever reason, a party has taken a position to not give tax breaks. If you think you can spend Georgians' money better than they can, then I welcome you to make that case in November. With that, I'm going to yield back to the chairman.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Chairman of the committee, Chairman Blackman, is recognized to speak to the bill for the remainder of the time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be brief. We've got a long day. But again, the very same legislation that provided for this rate reduction also took many off the tax rolls altogether, and more than doubled the standard deduction, providing, along with last year's dependent deduction increase, that a family of 4 now pays zero tax on their first $32,000 of income. That means a family of four that brings in $32,000 of income has an effective rate of 0. This measure, again, to reinforce the whip's point, allows Georgians to keep more of their money, not the government's money, their money, and reduces the tax burden for every Georgian, for every Georgia family that pays taxes. So let's join in sending a message that we trust hardworking Georgians to spend their money better than does the government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentlemen, as yielded the will, that concludes those against the measure and those in favor. Is there any objection to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 111, the yeas are 110, the nays are 60. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 112?
House Bill 112 by Representative McDonald III of the 26th to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to income taxes so as to provide for a one-time tax credit for individual taxpayers who filed income tax returns for the 2023 and 2024 taxable years. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends this bill do pass.
Representative Lauren McDonald is recognized to present the bill. Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Uh-oh, that thing flew off again. Thank you. Pardon me. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I want to thank my A-Block friends over here. They returned my file right before I came up here. So I appreciate y'all getting the bill back that I have to present. So who needs friends when you got the A-Block guys over here? I bring this bill on behalf of the administration. This is not a bill that we haven't heard before a few years ago. HB 112 is a one-time tax credit for those that have filed their 2023 and 2024 taxes. The amount that under their the taxes that they filed for joint filers will get back $500. For head of household, we'll get back $375. For individual filers, you'll get back $250. Mr. Speaker, I yield for any questions.
The gentleman has a question down front. Representative Estration is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Sir, is it not true that House Bill 112 is a reflection of the strong fiscal policy and management the state has had that has resulted in economic growth and reflects our commitment to limited government?
Yes, sir, Mr. Leader. With this and other legislation we've passed over the past 2 years, this commitment that each of us in this House is given to hardworking Georgians will equal up to about $7.6 billion that y'all have given back to these Georgians. It's a big commitment that every one of y'all have made to Georgians.
Gentlemen, you have one more question from Whip Park to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Is it not true that I look forward to voting yes to this bill that provides fair tax cuts of $250, $375, and $500 to all Georgians, unlike the last bill, which again, per the math, resulted in unfair distribution of taxes?
I want to thank you for your support and also the pre-voter support that my friend from Columbus gave in her presentation on the last bill.
Gentleman has no further questions.
I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose? Representative Park, Cannon Rise. She waves. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 112, the yeas are 175, the nays are 0. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 159?
House Bill 159 by Representative Crowe, the 118th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 26 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Georgia Housing and Finance Authority so as to increase the outstanding bond limit. This bill I referred to the Committee on Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Crowe is recognized. Chairman Crowe to present the bill, House Bill 159.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, House Bill 159 is a bill that would increase the aggregate amount of mortgage revenue bonds that the Georgia Housing and Finance Authority can issue each year. They're statutorily capped currently at $3 billion. That would double that cap to $6 billion. These funds from the mortgage revenue bonds are used to support their Georgia Dream home financing program. They originate loans for low-income, first-time home buyers, a lot of public safety, first responders, school teachers. It's a great program, and this would allow them to continue to issue those bonds and keep that program funded so they can issue more mortgages. And I'll stand for any questions, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman has one question. Representative Washburn to your left, recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the chairman yield?
Absolutely.
Is it not true that I appreciate you bringing this bill, and this is an important bill for entry-level housing in Georgia, of which we have a great shortage right now?
It is, and thank you very much for your support on this bill.
The gentleman has no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has yielded the will. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? I'm going to go. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Williamson rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that there is no obligation to the taxpayers of the state of Georgia by increasing this? There is no financial obligation to the state. Is that not true?
I know this gentleman is learned on this subject matter, and I believe he knows what he speaks, and I believe he's accurate. Have all members now voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 159, the yeas are 162, the nays are 10. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 185? 185.
House Bill 185 by Representative Earnhardt of the 36th and others to be entitled an act to amend Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related professions and businesses so as to repeal and reenact Chapter 11A, the Dietetics Practice Act. This bill having referred to the Committee on Regulated Industries, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The lady from Cobb County, Representative Jenny Earhart, is recognized to present the bill.
Mr. Speaker and members of the House, the Georgia Dietetics Act has not been updated in 30 years. So HB 185 serves to take care of that. What it does is it streamlines and narrows the requirements and the definitions to be licensed as a dietitian and a nutritionist in Georgia. Most importantly, it makes a big distinction between general nutrition advice, like something that might be given to our children on their sports teams, or a personal a trainer or a coach. It makes a distinguishment between that and medical nutrition therapy, which is often given in the treatment of a disease or a disorder or a condition. That requires a much higher level of training. So the bill serves to streamline that, clarify that language. It also permits Georgia to join an interstate compact for licensed dietitians. We would be one of the first states in the compact. I've learned that there is an advantage to being one of the first 7 states, and that it allows you, or it would give Georgia a seat at the table in setting those requirements for the pact and the requirements for those dietitians that move in and out of the state. It's a good bill, very much needed to fix some outdated language. Mr. Speaker, that is it, and I will yield the well unless there are any questions.
Lady has no questions. Lady has no questions.
No questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I said that real quick.
I had a question.
Sorry about that. Lady has no question, and she's yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? If so, have all members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 185, the yeas are 171, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 485? 485.
House Bill 485 by Representative Yurda, the 152nd and others to be entitled an act to amend the Official Code of Georgia Annotated so as to repeal various provisions enacted prior to 2013 which are contingent upon funding and which remain unfunded. This bill having referred to the Committee on Code Revision, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Bill Yurta is recognized to present the bill. Representative Yurta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 485 is not the annual code revision bill, which will come later this session. That's actually a Senate bill this year. But this bill does the same function or similar functions. This bill streamlines and modernizes terminology as well as some of the federal references in the Georgia law. For example, references to like No Child Left Behind Act has since been renamed Every Student Succeeds Act. Second, the bill repeals provisions contingent upon funding that have remained unfunded since 2013, one of which has been unfunded since 1983. Finally, the bill repeals unconstitutional portions of a number of laws with language in this bill reflecting the reenacted constitutional portions of these laws. Any unconstitutional portion of law that requires further debate, of course, will be policy discussions of this General Assembly. Were not included in this bill. I want to thank the Legislative Council for working hard on this and House Budget and Research for their assistance, and would ask for your favorable consideration.
Gentlemen, the gentleman has no questions.
Thank you. I yield the well, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members. All members have voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 485, the yeas are 175, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Members, if you have pages today, we're going to break for lunch and recess for lunch. We're going to ask you to come down and join your pages. Members, before you move around too much, I want to ask you to remember a former member of this House, Chairman Bill Hembry, who many of you served with. He was chairman of Rules. Bill is not doing well, so I'll ask you to keep him and his family in your prayers. Bill Hembry, he represented House District 67 at that time. A good man, a good friend. So keep him in your prayers, if you will. We'll break until 1:30 p.m. We'll be in recess. This House will stand in recess until excuse me. I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk. Don't leave yet. Mr. Clerk, will you read a caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring the life and memory of Bobby C. Pate. Honoring the life and memory of Larry Max Cox. Commending William L. Bill Lundy for 40 years of distinguished legal service, recognizing and honoring the members of the St. Patrick's Day Committee. Recognizing and commending Dr. Terrence J. Roberts, recognizing and commending Kinsley White, recognizing and commending the city of Chattahoochee Hills, congratulating and commending Alethea Chapman for receiving the 2025 Yellow Rose Nikki T. Randall Service Leader Award, recognizing and commending the Associate of St. Augustine Alumni Atlanta, commending the Lynx Incorporated and recognizing March 10, 2025 as Georgia Lynx Day at the Capitol, recognizing Kumbaya as the Gullah Geechee anthem, recognizing and commending Community Supervision Officer John Crew, the Department of Community Supervision's 2024 Officer of the Year, recognizing and commending Jerry Jerome Buey upon his retirement, and recognizing October 6th through 10, 2025 as Georgia Pre-K Week. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.